Hello, this is Dr. Justin Coulson here with Mrs. Happy Families Kylie, mum to our 6 kids. I'm the founder of happyfamilies.com.au. Hey, just before we go on with the podcast, a really quick plug for the Misconnection Summit. It's happening in the early part of October, Tuesday the 5th of October. If you've got tween and teen girls, 8 to 18, please jump online, happyfamilies.com.au. Sign up for the Misconnection Summit. You will not believe how amazing the content is. It's going to change your life if you've got those tween and teen girls.
Well, it's school holidays up and down the eastern seaboard.
We're taking a couple of weeks off to be with our family. We can finally get away and enjoy some family time after everything that the pandemic has put everyone through for so long.
And I guess the good news is, even if you are stuck at home, we're taking a break from homeschool. That's got to alleviate some of the anxiety and stress in families around the country.
We really hope so anyway. We're replaying some of our favourite episodes from during the year, many of which you've probably missed. We thought that you would love this one. It was a listener question that came through, this time from a mum wondering if there might be an indirect impact on our children based on what we say about ourselves.
It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Changing our self-talk isn't instantly going to change our world because it takes time for it to compound.
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
Hello, this is Dr. Justin Coulson, the author of 6 books about raising happy families, and I'm sitting in front of my wife and co-host, my podcast partner, and mum to our 6 daughters, Mrs. Happy Families, Kylie, who's got a big grin on her face because she knows that I'm about to highlight that. Can I say, I don't know if this is too impolite, Kylie's been walking around the house for the last 48 hours kind of like she wet her pants, except she didn't. but because Kylie has announced that the floristry course has had to wait for a little while, Kylie said, well, you know what? I'm going to get back onto my other goals. I'm going to make time for myself. I'm going to go to the gym. And
I've been paying all of these fees to have a gym membership, and I haven't been maximising it. So
how long has it been since you've been back to the gym?
This week I've started.
How long had it been until?
Oh, maybe 4 years.
Yeah. And you know what it's like? Like you show up for boot camp on day 1 and you go gung-ho and you're so excited about it, and then you wake up on day 2, Kylie, and?
Let's say going to the toilet might have been a little bit harder than I remember it.
Oh, so maybe you did wet your pants.
No, but finding the seat was a lot harder.
Kylie did legs on day 1 and oh my goodness, we've had so much fun.
Making fun of me.
Yeah,
yes,
getting you to walk up and down the stairs. And haven't followed you to the bathroom. I didn't know that little bit of personal disclosure was going to come out. But anyway, hey, we got some really we love it when you contact us, is what I'm trying to say. Podcasts at happyfamilies.com.au. We also love the reviews and ratings that you leave on the Apple Podcasts app. I'm going to talk more about that shortly. But Taryn sent us an email. Taryn's in Adelaide, and asked a bit of a curly question.
Hi, Taryn. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
So good of you to be with us. We've had a few technical issues trying to just make this happen, and you've had the most entertaining morning of your week, I'm guessing. But we've got you now. Taryn, can you tell us a bit about what you do in Adelaide and why you reached out to us?
Yeah. So I'm a mental health clinician. I'm an occupational therapist too, and also a mum of 3 little kids. And I suppose there's a lot of stuff we read about, and there was even a post on your Facebook page from AHA Parenting around the impact of critical talk to our children and how that develops their inner voice. I guess I was thinking a little bit beyond that around how, I guess, negative talking and critical thinking about ourselves can then have an impact on our children, and whether or not that too becomes more like their inner voice or a way that they then start thinking about themselves. That was my question.
Yeah, it's such a great question as well, because the things that we say to them are obviously so direct, but then what you're really saying is, could there be an indirect impact on our children and their voice based on what we say about ourselves?
Exactly, yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Taryn.
Mm-hmm.
If a mum speaks negatively, and I'm going to use mum because obviously I'm talking to you and 90% of our audience is mums. If a mum speaks negatively to herself in the mirror about her body and her 5-year-old daughter hears it, Does her 5-year-old daughter, do you think, internalize anything in relation to the way she might view her body?
Well, we've been told that is the case. That absolutely the child then starts kind of having those criticisms or thoughts around whether they could be fat or ugly or out of shape. But does that also then apply to the mum who might say, oh, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, I'm not worth anything, I'm useless, I can't do it? Does it apply to that language as well?
So, Taryn, what we call this is an intergenerational transfer of mindset, cognitive mindset. When we pass things on from one generation to the next, and it does happen. There's no research studies that I would call robust and really strong that have gone and looked at precisely how our own inner voice transfers to our children. But there's plenty of anecdotal research, and there's lots of sporadic bits and pieces of research around the place. And what we're going to do is come back in a second, talk about how we can filter our inner voice and make sure that we give our children the support that they need so that they can develop the strength and the kindness and self-compassion that they need to tackle these big challenges on their own.
It's the Happy Families Podcast.
Imagine a home where discipline got results without anyone having to feel bad or in trouble. The Do's and Don'ts of Discipline is a webinar to help parents set limits with love, compassion and humanity. Find it now at happyfamilies.com.au/shop.
It's the Happy Families Podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. And before the break, we were actually having a great conversation with Taryn, who sent an email into us at podcasts@happyfamilies.com.au.
Yeah, thank you, Taryn. We really appreciate that.
She wanted to know about this whole idea of whether or not our own inner self-talk actually has significant implications for our children's inner voice.
All right. So this is one of those ones where I go a little bit funny when we've got to talk about this, because in the pop culture, pop psychology world, there's all of this talk that's out there that I think is not necessarily helpful. Like I was listening to I can't believe I'm admitting this. I was listening to an Oprah podcast. Oprah is actually pretty awesome.
She's awesome.
All right, I'm going to say it. I was listening to an Oprah podcast maybe 6 or 9 months ago now, and J-Lo was on there. She'd just turned 50, and everyone's always going on about how beautiful she is and what does she do for her skin. And she's got this thing where she's like, stop talking about what I do. And she said, I practice a daily affirmation. My self-talk about my physical appearance is, and I quote, I've actually looked it up so I could get it exactly right. She says, quote, every day I say, I am youthful and timeless at every age, close quote.
I think I need to try that. If I can look half as good as J-Lo at 50, I will be happy.
I roll my eyes when I hear that. It's kind of like you remember the book that came out and they made a movie out of it, The Secret? Do you remember that?
No, I don't, but I have looked into it a little bit, and I'm assuming that it's this book based on this idea of the law of attraction.
Manifesting.
Yeah.
If you think it, you can have it in your life, which I've been thinking about winning the lotto for a long time and it still hasn't happened. So I just don't buy the whole manifesting thing.
Your mum's a bit like this.
Yeah, she is. You can create it. Just, drive into the car space and have positive thoughts and a car space. Somebody will back out and you can get in the crowded car park, you can have the spot. Yeah, that's totally her.
My favourite one from your mum is she buys a wart.
My mum buys warts. So when we were kids, she would say, well, you don't want that wart. How about if I buy it off you? I'll buy it off you for 50 cents or $1. And so she'd give us the money. And here's the crazy thing about it. Now, I don't know any research on this and I feel so bizarre saying that. I can't believe you dragged this out of me. My mum bought about 28 warts off me. I had warts all over my hands when I was a kid.
That is gross.
It was gross and I was very uncomfortable about it, but it's the reality of life for a lot of people. I had about 28 warts on my hands and I remember she gave me $2.80. I felt like I was so rich. And she was like, well, now that I bought those warts for 10 cents each, I own them, so you need to surrender them. And I kid you not, within 2 weeks, I had no warts on my hands and I have never had a wart since.
That is crazy. And you know what's even more crazy?
How do you explain that?
Is that we've actually done this with our children.
I can't believe that. Yes, we have.
And they don't have any warts.
We bought the warts off our girls. I think I paid $1 each.
Yeah, I was about to say interest over time. It was a lot more expensive for us.
But as a research scientist, as a person with a PhD in psychology, I'm very uncomfortable with the idea of manifesting and this idea that we can visualize and affirm our way into and out of things. Now, that might not sound like it's going anything to do with Taryn and her question, but it's worth spending some time on this idea. Now, psychologists don't use the term manifesting or affirmations or visualization. They're not really huge into that, although there are some pretty cool studies on visualization now. But what the researchers do look at is this.
You guys aren't like the be-all of everything.
No, but we take things very seriously.
Yes,
and manifesting is not serious enough to study. But
what is
self-talk? Self-talk is serious enough to study. And I know you might say it's the same thing. I'm not going to say whether it is or it isn't. But there's the textbook stuff and then there's the real life stuff. And we do have self-talk. And self-talk is the voice that's inside your head that never, ever, ever stops. And our voice inside our head reveals a lot about what we believe about ourselves. And the thing is, we actually believe what that voice says all the time. If I say to you, you're a wonderful person, there's a little voice inside your head that reacts immediately to what I've just said. Or if I say you're so honest or you're so beautiful, as soon as I say those things, there's a little voice inside your head that responds with, yeah, I am, or no, I'm not, or that's really nice of you, but I've still got a way to go. And some of our voices are wonderfully kind and compassionate. And sometimes our self-talk, our inner voice, is abusive. There's no other way to say it. Sometimes the things that we say to ourselves, if we said them to our child, you'd definitely call child protection.
Now, we talked about that on a podcast.
We have talked about that before, and sometimes I wonder if we need to call child protection on ourselves because there is an inner child inside each of us and we talk so badly to it. But I guess the main point that I want to make here is that our words create our worlds. The way we speak to ourselves literally, it compounds over time. If every day I wake up and I say, oh, that'd be right, this stuff always happens to me, I'm hopeless, I'm lousy, I'm no good, it's just another day, I can't do it, that self-talk creates the world in which we live. And we live in a world where this is going to sound a little bit dispassionate or a little bit lacking in compassion, but if our self-talk is that awful, sometimes we actually make victims of ourselves. Changing our self-talk isn't instantly going to change our world because it takes time for it to compound. But if this is what we bring into our life, to move back towards Taryn's point, this is also what we bring into our children's lives. They see the way we talk, they hear the way we talk, and they watch the way our lives go, and they think that's what life is. They mirror us, they model us, they copy us.
I feel like we could talk about this all day, but clearly we have a lot of parents who are time poor and just want answers, Dr. Justin Coulson. So can you give me 3 take-home messages for our...
Literally take these messages home. That's why we call it the take-home message. Take-home message number 1, your self-talk matters. Your words create your world.
So what do you do if your self-talk is bad?
Change it bit by bit. You'll fail lots, but change it. And when you catch yourself speaking about yourself lousy, like, oh, you're such an idiot. Oh, yeah, this always happens to you. When you hear yourself saying that, recognize it. Say, have some compassion on yourself. Be kind to yourself and say, I need to stop saying that about myself. I need to do better. And don't beat yourself up. Don't pull the whip out and go snap, snap. Just accept that you blew it and change it. Say, that happened to me just then, but it's not always going to happen to me. I can change this. Literally twist it around. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we need to be our greatest cheerleader. And I don't mean like in some false kind of, I'm the greatest, Muhammad Ali had nothing on me kind of thing. See what I did there? I'm a poet and I didn't even realize I could rhyme like that. But we want to be our greatest cheerleader from the point of view that we want to be saying, I believe in me. I've got this. I can take care of this. I might be struggling right now, but I know it'll be okay in the end. That's much more positive self-talk than my life is ruined. And the third thing to remember is the way we talk about ourselves, our kids see it. They watch it. They imitate it. They become it. Whatever you are, I am, that is what you'll be. But it's what you'll teach your kids to be as well.
I really hope that this has been helpful today.
Yeah, if you've enjoyed the podcast, we would be so grateful if you jump online and leave a rating and review. You literally can do it in the Apple Podcast app. Just click on our podcast and click on the button that says leave a rating and review. It's literally that simple. It'll take you about 60 seconds. It's your ratings and reviews that help other people to find out about the podcast, to make their family happier. Thank you very much to Justin Rulon from Bridge Media for producing the podcast. And our executive producer is Craig Bruce. If you'd like more information about how to make your family happier and get month-to-month support from me, all you have to do is go to happyfamilies.com.au.